Hello, everyone. This is Chris Lepardi. I'm here with my great friend Dan Cortine, and welcome to A Father's Love Healing Through Heartache. We're excited to have you with us on our podcast and continue to share our stories of grief and hopefully be able to help you through your story of grief. Dan, how you doing today?
Same old Chris, like we say every time, right?
Yep, second by second. That's all we can do. Um, but I had a good day today, so I'm happy about that. To be honest with you, and um, they're few and far between, but I'll take anything I can get.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
Dan, you want to go over what we're going to be talking about today? I want to
So,
make sure you this is your idea, and I like the way you explain it the best.
so yeah, that I think Chris's statement, "I had a good day today," is perfect for what we're talking about tonight. We're gonna discuss "I'm okay," and we're gonna talk about what that means to Chris and me, and hopefully be able to give you some good comparisons between that and what you consider okay.
Yeah, perfect. And if you're a person that's listening and you're not dealing with any grief right now, it's this episode should be able to help you out too because you're going to understand that people going through grief when they say I'm okay, it means a whole lot more. It's different. It's completely different from when you say I'm doing okay. I know when I say I'm okay, it typically means like I'm really sad and I'm going through the motions, um, but I'm not crying in front of you right now. How about you, Dan? What are you typically feeling when you say I'm okay?
Absolutely. I think the big thing that I want to convey is that my okay is a completely different level now than it was 2.5 years ago. And my okay is a completely different level than what your okay is. And I think it goes back to last week where I discussed uh, a friend, and not really a friend, but someone who was shocked when Erica and I said that we were okay. And his response was, "What? You're not doing okay?" No, we're not. So just are okay. If we're doing okay, that is a big deal for us, but it doesn't mean that we're at the normal level that we were a few years ago.
Yeah, and I think that really comes back into how we've said a couple episodes now. And I know for some people, you might be like, "Oh, we guys talked about this already," but it's really important to stress that we're different people now. So if you're going through the grieving process, you're a different person than when your loved one was still with you. I know I'm a different person. I act differently. I am not in a cheerful mood, or if I am, it is really for show. It is not.
Right.
It's really just so other people feel comfortable. It's not so that I feel better about it. And some people that know me really well have noticed and said, like, "Listen, I know that's not that you're not okay," and I'm like, yeah, I understand, but I'm trying to not bring everyone down. And that's just me as a person. Other people, you might just want to be miserable, and that's fine. There's going to be days where I'm miserable. There's days I'm mad, days I'm angry, days I'm exhausted, like physically exhausted from it. Because a lot of people don't realize that the mental wear starts leading to the physical wear down on your body as well. So uh, that's can make it difficult as well in terms of the physical exhaustion. I know Dan, we've talked a little bit about it together about being physically tired. I know we don't sleep as much anymore. I'm averaging, I have one of those smart watches that tracks my sleep at night, and I'm averaging about 5 hours of sleep a night. So not the best. Could probably be a little healthier if I could help it. So, what are you, Dan?
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Chris and I were just talking a minute ago about how we both slept poorly last night and had late bedtimes and early wake up calls combined with poor sleep from just dealing with life. So we're both, I think, running close to on fumes tonight. So I think Chris just said something very key. I know I do a lot. I try to make others comfortable or try to prevent them from being uncomfortable. So yeah, when I'm asked whatever the question is, a lot of times it's a fake answer because I've talked about this with my closest friends and they've been wonderful about it, but I don't want to be the Debbie Downer. And I totally understand that a huge amount of time that I'm around people, I am a Debbie Downer. and I don't want to be that way. I don't want to make others feel that way. So I will give a fake answer a lot of the time, and I will remove myself from the situation as quickly as possible a lot of times, just because I don't want to bring you down with me. I care very much that people are comfortable talking to me, as we've discussed in other episodes numerous times. I want people to know that they can talk to me because we do appreciate that. And if I'm just not feeling it, I want to get out of there quickly so that I don't damage our relationship or make you feel like you can talk to me, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, and I think the goal really is, at least for Dan and myself, and maybe for you if you're going through the grieving processes, we actually want to get to those happy moments again. And I know I think about it often. I have friends that have lost their children and they're 10, 20 years down the road. And they assure me, and I mean, they literally use the word, I assure you, it will not be this hard forever. It gets easier. The pain is never going to go away. I'm not even trying to say that you're ever going to miss your loved one an ounce less, because you won't. And I know I won't. But they assure me that they're happy, they're living happy lives with their children and their other children, their grandchildren. They're traveling the world. They're doing things they want to do. And, as hard as it is for me right now to think about that, I know that Mason wouldn't want me to just crawl under a rock and never move again, because that's not who Mason was. And for Dan, I don't think that's who Jameson was from what he's told me about Jameson. So our ultimate goal is to get to a mental point where we start living those happy moments again. We start having fun. We start laughing, having people over, living the lives that, you know, we're never going to be the same people. We've said that before. We're different people. But with our new person, who we are, coming to that point where I can keep moving forward, I can do this.
Yeah, and that's where I think I am super excited about tonight's discussion because most weeks Chris and I are talking about something that we've had some pretty intense talks about already. Tonight is something I don't remember Chris and I talking about really what is okay for him versus me. And with me being 2 years, a little bit over 2 years in, and Chris having just crossed the 1 year mark, we're at those different stages where I'm curious to see if he went through the same things, if he's going through the same things that I went through, and the hope that Chris talks about. Maybe there's some hope that I can shed for him and help realize myself that I'm a lot farther down that path because Erica and I also have a few families that are much farther down that road and they say the same thing. They're doing just fine. And that's an enormous um, encouragement for us that someday we're going to get to the point where we're doing a lot better. I want to encourage everybody that hasn't gone through grief, or even if you have, I don't remember the exact name, but if you Google it, if you Google like grief rock in pocket, you should get it. There were two great kind of stories that I've been exposed to over the last 2 years. And the rock in the pocket one is basically that when you're dealing with grief, you have a rock in the pocket. And for the first months or year, you feel it poking at you all the time, all day, every single day. And for me, my okay was I can get out of bed. Literally, I can physically get out of bed and not sitting there crying hysterically all day long. Then it progresses to, hey, I took a shower today. I got dressed today. I left the house today. All of those are very key steps that take a long time for a lot of people. And so this rock is in your pocket and it's always there and you always feel it. But then over time, you feel it less and less. Not that it disappears, but you get used to it. And you're so used to it that it's not weighing you down and making your days miserable like they were in the first few months or year or 2 years, whatever. And then eventually you get to the point where you generally don't feel the rock, but when you move the right way or bend the right way, that rock will jab you. You might feel it kind of gently, and those are some of the softer memories that are triggered for us. Or if you really bend a certain way, you will literally jab that rock into your leg, and it hurts like a dickens. And no matter how far down the road you are, we're going to have those. I think we've talked about holidays and birthdays, things like that. Those are great examples that I don't know that they're ever going to. I can't imagine a Mother's Day or a Father's Day or a birthday ever being even remotely close to the same. Those to me are days that that rock is going to jab me hard forever.
Yeah, for me, you know, I don't know if it's because I was really kind of put in a situation where I wasn't put there. I chose that decision to move so quickly, asking the Air Force to move us to another base so we could be closer to Mason's grave. So I was so sad, but I had no choice but to go take care of everything I need to do. Pack up all of Mason's stuff, pack everything up, move, find a house, get our house built, move into our house, learn a new job, just all the constant changes nonstop. It made it really difficult. Uh, so that was really hard for me. Uh, it was really difficult. Mason's first birthday was probably the hardest for me. For some reason, it just destroyed me so much. Uh, Christmas hasn't destroyed me yet because we went home for Christmas. So it just felt it wasn't our normal Christmas where it was just myself, Amanda, and the boys, like normally because we're pretty far away from home. So Christmas didn't hit me as hard as I thought it would. But his birthday, even though we were home, his birthday hit me really, really hard. We all went to his grave together as a big family, Amanda's side and my side. And I tried to say a few words, and I literally could say nothing. It's probably one of the few times in our marriage where Amanda really took the reins in terms of speaking to people, and she said the words because I just couldn't. I was down for the count. Um, so, but like Dan said with the Rock, and Dan told me this story, and it's stuck with me. Uh, I'm not going to say that I'm not getting poked every day still, because I still am. But I'm at least at a point now where I'm not crying all day long. Uh, Literally, probably every single day for the first year after Mason passed, at least one tear went out of my eye, down my face. Uh, you know, I'm not like that every day now. I might feel like it, but I'm getting to the point where at least I'm not literally shedding a tear every day. So, in my therapy, in my grief therapy, my therapist tells me if you're even a 0.5% better, you're making progress. And I'm taking that as I'm doing at least a 0.5% better. I'm able to survive another day, take care of my wife and my other boys, and make sure they're okay. And if they're okay, then we're going to be okay in the long haul for this.
Yeah, I I just had a moment earlier today, and I had the same moment yesterday where I've been through a very similar thing Chris has, where yeah, you get to that point where okay, I'm not crying hysterically all day. I'm crying half the day, and then for an hour, and then it's just certain moments. But one of the things I hope people will hear from tonight is that I hit that moment after 1 year. My There was a huge weight lifted off my shoulders on 1 year and 1 day after Jameson passed, because that first year of the complete shock and tremendous pain, that was over because we had done the first birthday, the first everything, but then immediately it shifted. I think I shared this before, that for me it shifted to more of a focus on the memories that I wasn't going to be able to create with Jameson anymore. So it's not that anything went away, it's just a whole different path, and it's still is as terrible as the first path. But then the moment yesterday and today that hit me was that I was sitting on my porch last night and then earlier this morning at school, and it hit me, oh my God, have I thought about Jameson today? Have I had any memories of Jameson today? And all of a sudden I had tremendous guilt because, oh my God, I forgot my son. How in the world can I forget my son? And that is a whole nother pathway that I imagine we all are going to go down at some point. And I guess I'm starting to go down that, where I'm not being poked by that stone every day. But then, if I can't think of a clear moment in my day where I was poked, that part of it is awful. So again, it's like I can't win. Like, I want to get better. I want to, like Chris said, I want to be joyful and happy again. But I don't want to forget Jameson either. And I don't know.
Yeah, I can totally understand that, and I've had that a little bit myself too. So for me, Amanda for Christmas, Amanda got me a ring with Mason's fingerprint on it, and so every day I put that ring on, I give that ring a kiss, and so I am lucky in that sense that that is my reminder to think of my son. But I totally understand what you're saying because I've had those moments too where it gets to the nighttime, like, man, I didn't think about Mason that much today, and I do feel bad about it. Um, and, and it stinks, right? It's just one of those it sucks moments that we talk about all the time because it is a catch 22. It's like it's almost like part of you wants to keep hurting because you just don't want to forget your son at all. And it's almost like if you start recovering, you feel guilty like you're forgetting your son or your loved one if you know for whoever else is listening.
Right.
If you've had those feelings before, you can totally relate. And I think that's what Dan's saying. I can relate to that, where you feel like if I'm not in pain, I'm somehow forgetting them. But I keep telling myself, at least in my mind, Mason would not want that. He just really wouldn't. That's just not who he was as a kid, as a person. He was a bubbly, fun jokester who loved sports and was amazing at them. And if he knew that I was just totally miserable all day long, um, you know, and this might sound kind of cliche, but I feel like Mason's spirit is right next to me watching me, and I don't want him to be disappointed with what he sees too. So that's what kind of sometimes, if I start getting in those moments, keeps me motivated to do moving in that forward progress.
Yeah, and I have my bracelet on for Jameson's Joy, 24 hours a day. I have a picture of Jameson in my wallet. I have my family picture as my cell phone. So I know, like Chris said, there is no way that I've had a moment every day where I haven't thought of Jameson. But it's still one of those things that I can have those moments later in the day. Oh my God, did I? And it's going to happen. And Chris said it perfectly, and I don't know the answer. If anybody has the answer to this, please share it. Yeah, there is a part of me that wants to hurt, as weird, crazy as that is, because exactly what Chris said, it's spot on. If I'm not hurting, I'm worried that I'm forgetting Jameson, and neither one of those options obviously is a very encouraging, enticing option to go through. I think Chris said it beautifully.
Thanks, Dan. And yeah, it stinks. It's just there's no easy way around this. You know, we just have to be together as a team. For all those that are going through grief, we're there with you. We understand. We want to help. You know, if you want to come on the podcast and tell your story, believe me, you'll feel better. That's why Dan and I are doing this. You know, our number one goal was how can we get through this together? And then how can we help others get through this? you want to come on this podcast and you want to share your story about your loved one, like we've said numerous times, talking about your loved one, you feel way better. And, you don't even have to come on and say how they passed. You can just tell us about the good memories if that's what you want. Dan and I are going to get to those episodes real soon about our boys, some of the greatness that they had. And I'm looking forward to those episodes a lot.
Yeah, you can't go through life alone. And because at some point, something's going to happen where you're going to wish you had that relationship with somebody to walk closely with. And this is going to sound wrong, but people will understand that I hate that Chris and I know each other. He is an amazing man, but we were across the country from each other, and I wish I had never met this man in my life, because then we'd both have our sons. We'd be upstairs right now playing with our sons, eating dinner, and all that stuff. But thank God that I know Chris to walk through this with me, because it helps to talk. It's not easy. I was just talking to Erica, and she's like, I can't listen to your podcast. I want to, but I can't do it because it's going to be too painful. I totally get that. And Chris and I, if you've listened to our first 8 episodes, you've heard it. We've shed tears. It's not easy, but it does help to talk about it.
Yeah, Amanda's the same way. She hasn't listened to a single episode yet because she said she's not ready yet. She's too sad still. And I understand that, and I will not push that on her. Just like you are there for Erica, Dan, I know I'm there for Amanda when she needs to talk. Just us, we talk, and I let her speak her mind however she needs to. Yeah. Shed her tear, and when I need to shed a tear, she's there for me. That's how marriages work, and I'm very blessed to have an amazing wife that's there with me through the whole process, and we're helping each other get through this.
Yeah, and I think our wives, I think that's a great example again about what is okay for us. Chris and I both try very hard to be good husbands and good fathers, and just in a normal situation, that is hard and exhausting many times, especially with the more kids you have. Generally, the more energy it takes to keep up with all of them. And so you take that regular amount of energy that any parent has to expend daily, and then all of a sudden you throw in our layers of grief and how we're trying to be a good husband and good father in a normal world, plus now that how do you do it in such a tragic situation? It's just, I think, a very good example of how our okay is a whole lot different than everybody else's okay.
Yeah, and if you throw on all the, like you were talking, being a good husband or being a good spouse, let's say good spouse for our listeners, if you're trying to be a good spouse and you want your spouse to be loving and helpful with you, and you throw on all the other stressors in life today, right? COVID, money, just the crazy world we live in right now. And then you throw in the grief of exhaustion. I know for me it was exhaustion, not eating healthy, getting really unfit, and it was really just making me tumble more and more and more. So all those things combined can really start to weigh you down so much. And for those dads, if there's any dads out there listening that are, you're listening to this podcast and you're just worried about the masculinity aspect of, the cliche of talking about your feelings, please let me urge you to find someone you are extremely comfortable with and telling them really how you feel. And if you're not sure who that is, Dan and I are on social media. Reach out to us. We're willing to listen. Talking about it, you're going to feel better. It hurts in the moment. Dan will attest. I'm not going to lie. It's going to hurt when you first say it. But you know what? I've told Mason's story so many times now, I don't cry when I say it anymore. And that's because me talking about it has helped me move through those feelings. Now, they're not gone. I'm still extremely sad, and it is still difficult to talk about the hospital and all the other stuff that happened. But I can do it now, and I can get Mason's story out there, and I can get ADEM awareness out there now, and it's making me a better husband. It's making me a better dad. And if you need that as a grieving parent, or just as anyone dealing with grief, find that person you're comfortable with and talk to them. You're going to feel better.
Yeah, not too long ago, one of the sermons we had at church was basically it was about how alone people feel, even though we're in the most connected time of the history of this world with all of social media and cell phones and everything that we have at our fingertips, and how everybody, I mean, we all have how many hundreds of Facebook friends, or the video game, how many friends on a video game. I don't understand that world. I don't do video games. But we're so connected to numbers, but we're so disconnected when it really comes to relationships. And again, Chris is spot on. We all need that person that we can talk to, and we all need that ability, as hard as it is, to express our emotions. And I kind of chuckle as Chris was talking about that, because one of my Men of Fuquay Varina groups that I follow lately, you got all the internet tough guys on there talking about, I don't know if they're single or married, but they're posting sexual things with women and all this stuff, and they're all over how we're real men and everybody else is not a man, because there's a lot of guys on there who are posting about, hey, I need help fixing a lawnmower, or I need help with this wiring thing or this plumbing thing, or whatever it is. And it's really becoming an ugly world that I'm not a fan of anymore, because I'll argue with them left and right about which side of those is the real man. Um, I'm sorry, I will argue until I'm blue in the face. Real men are out here expressing their emotions. Real men are out here dealing with whatever's going on. Real men are out here trying to love on their wives and lift their wives up and be better fathers. And even at the expense of the tough guy image, that's not, I don't, that's not a real man. I don't think.
Yeah, and I would venture to say all those quotation real men are not happy.
Mm-hmm.
And they have some other issues they're dealing with. I'm sorry they are. Hopefully they get the help that they need so that they feel better about themselves and they don't have to act like that. But I know that uh, Dan and I feel like we each have our own feelings and emotions. We're able to get them out as easily as we can. And in the end, it's just making us a better husband, better father, better coworker, better human on this planet. And I couldn't have said it better, Dan. I would take that all day long.
Yeah.
So, Dan, I had another question for you, real quick. In terms of, is there anything you do or for yourself in terms of, well, let me just give you an example. I often go outside and look at the moon and just talk to Mason, and it's just my way of feeling like I'm still having that one-on-one talk with him. And it's usually just me. It's nighttime, moon's out, quiet, and I just have that little conversation. And I'm curious if you do anything like that at all.
I do. I actually did it last night. Conveniently, sitting behind me is Jameson's All-Star baseball uniform. And this is our baseball season in our county right now. And just last night, I went to the field, and one of the amazing ways that our community stepped up to support Erica and me was that the city of Brevard planted a tree and put in a bench and a little landscaped area right behind right behind home plate at one of our baseball fields at the sports complex. And I was out there last night just doing some things at the fields because I'm part of the league. But then I took a few moments and I went up and sat on Jameson's bench just by myself and just It's one of those things for me that if you look in the distance, you see the mountains, so it represents the beauty that we moved to this area to get to. And then I just sit there and I think about it, and I talk with Jameson about just how much he would love playing there. Just the fact that he's playing ball itself would thrill him to death. But to play ball in that location with that view, Jameson really appreciated nature and the beauty of this world that we live in. So that's one of a few different things that I do, Chris. Yeah, I do. There's certain places if we go for a hike or there's a hike in our area called Big Rock, and I'll go up there and I'll just always take a few minutes just to sit and look at the sunset and the mountains forever, and just spend a few minutes trying to connect with Jameson. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the bench idea. It's great, and I know from Amanda and myself, being in the military and moving a lot, we're not at our forever home yet, but I know we've talked about we'd like some acreage in our house one day, and we've talked about that bench of just having that bench that we could just go out there and just have our moments that we need for sure. So
And
yeah,
Erica and I have an area we're hoping this summer. It's a good example of just how it's hard to get things done when you're grieving. It's hard to get things done in normal life without grieving. But again, that extra layer when you're grieving of just finding the energy and the time to do things. We had our neighbors when Jameson first passed. They bought us a dogwood tree and we planted it in our yard. And we, Erica and I, over the last 2 years, we've slowly been adding rose bushes and different things. And hopefully this summer we're gonna finish it off as a nice little garden area. We've got a couple chairs out there to do exactly what Chris just said, and just be able to go out there and sit and hopefully connect with our boy.
moving on to the next topic in terms of for those that are listening that maybe aren't dealing with grief, but they want to help loved ones out that are dealing with grief. What are some things that you recommend they do when they ask somebody and they just say, "I'm doing okay"? What are some things that you think would help you in those moments, and just how can they help their loved ones out during that difficult time?
I don't know that I've discovered that answer. What I do know is actually before they ask the question, I think I can talk more about that. Um, like Chris and I have said numerous times, just let us know that you're there and that you care on a daily basis. I've had, there's a few times that I've put a very clear cry out to my network that I'm not doing good. I need you to let me know you're there. And the next day at work, I had 3 different people came in. It's like, hey, I'm thinking about you. I do eat, and they were all said perfectly. I'm thinking of you. One of them said, hey, even if I'm not saying anything, please know that I am always thinking of you. I am here. And though everybody said good, encouraging words, and that was helpful, I think just helping us again get through the day to help us be okay. Realizing that we are struggling. And for me, still, I have trouble with day to day tasks, especially little ones that I think are very insignificant. I want to accomplish my job. I'm an elementary teacher. I want to teach my kids. And if it's not something that's directly impacting my ability to help my kids learn, I kind of push that to the side, and it makes me much more okay when my colleagues recognize that and they say, "Hey Dan, I've got that. I already did that for you." And it it's something that takes them a minute or two, but it feels to me like it was an hour or a full day worth of effort and energy that I've been saved from. So I want to encourage people again for that, just to before even asking, are we okay? What can you do on a daily basis to help take something off our plate? And not, I don't think we're asking for you to really inconvenience yourself on really big things. We get it. We have to do our jobs. We get it. But there's little things that really make a huge difference. Chris?
Yeah, I think for me, like you said, just knowing they're there, just saying like, hey, I know it sucks. There's nothing I can say. It actually is a lot better that for me, a lot of times for someone to say, hey, I'm here. I don't get it, but I'm here if you need me. And usually when someone says that, it actually makes you feel a lot better overall. And so, if you're one of those people that are listening that just want to help someone that's going through grief, just understand. We've talked about before. Emotions are all over the place. They're not. When you hear about the grief process, I think it's funny. There's not like one set road for everyone for the grief process. Everyone's gonna be all over the place with their grief. Some people are progressed fast. Some people are still on the first stage. It's just all over the place, and you really, you have to feel the people out and just kind of, if you know them and they're your good friend, you're gonna understand. Just being there to help them out. That's the best you can do, really. Knowing that I have those friends to lean on when I need them means more than any amount of dollars that they could ever give or donate.
Absolutely. I want to give a shout out today. I won't name because I don't like giving names of fear that I'll leave somebody out. But today I had a colleague. We field days at school are different. I assume all over the country with COVID, but we had our fourth graders today for the kids who are actually in person organized a little field day all by themselves instead of a school wide one. Reese has been online all year long, and that's been a hard thing to figure out. What do you do with the online kids? Do you let them come to field day or not? Do they even want to with COVID? But Reese is in my room all day, every day, doing his classwork. And one of my colleagues came over and was like, hey, if Reese wants to come out in field day, he's welcome to it. What an enormous, generously, I can't talk, enormously generous, kind act that was to think about, hey, Reese is in there all day. He doesn't get to socialize with his friends. He doesn't get this fun event because he's an online learner. I can invite him in. And it cost her absolutely nothing. It was no additional money, it was no additional energy. He just fit right in and he had an absolute blast. And as a father and as a mother, Erica and I both are so grateful to this colleague for thinking of including our son in something and making his day a little bit easier and a lot bit happier.
Well, I'm sure he was a lot happier. I I cannot wait for my kids to get back to school.
Mm-hmm.
I think they need it, and not to change topics, but wow, losing their brother and then not being in school and being at a new school at that, not having any friends here. I cannot wait for them to get to school because I just think it'll bring a new normal to them that they need again, of having friends and being able to lean on those friends because even as even as their parent, there's only so much we can do. There's got to be other children interaction, and I cannot wait for that moment for sure. I'm sure you can't either, Dan, to hopefully have a full classroom next year.
Well, that's something I think Chris and I actually a little different on. And I don't know the reason why. I am ready for Reese to get back to school. I want him to be socially involved. I want lives to be normal again. But I am still very hypersensitive about COVID. And we're not hiding in our houses, avoiding the world. But we go out when we know that Erica and I, have as much control as we possibly can as human beings. We'll let Reese go into those situations. when you get into a classroom of 20 or 25 kids coming from different homes and you don't know where they've been, what they've done, what they believe about anything, that makes me very nervous. So I'm still very torn about sending Reese back, and we are going to send him back. He wants to go back, but even he's worried about COVID because he's a very safe kid. Um, so it's a struggle that we're having. That again, it's I think a lot of people are having that same struggle, but it's a different. I don't know if it's a different level for us, but it's a different path for us because God forbid if Reese got sick and something happened to Reese, then God, there goes my other son. And I don't know if I had more
No,
kids.
yeah, I get what you're saying. It's a valid question, and there's no right answer. There's no right or wrong answer. I know for us, um, as scary as it is, I think it's scarier in that the kids, my boys, will be hurt even more if they're not in school. They need to get back now. Um, I can see the difference in them from pre-COVID to where they are now, and I know we're way off topic here, but I'm ready for them to get back. So,
Yeah.
so Dan, anything else for this episode you want to throw in?
I want to talk about changes. You mentioned changes earlier. Just on a day-to-day basis of being okay. How do you react when you're expecting something to happen or something you have to do at work and somebody changes it?
For me, I'm okay actually, in the sense that my job is very chaotic, and change in the military is often, and it's been my entire career. So it is not uncommon throughout my entire career to come in and then be like, yeah, we're not doing it like that anymore. We're going to do it like this now. It happens. I'm not going to say every day. I'm going to say often though. And so change for me doesn't like bring me down or put me in a negative place. Of course, like any other human, I like my routine, but I am not unaccustomed to the constant changes where it feels like a norm, to be honest with you. How about you?
Okay. I struggle with changes, not always because I don't want to, but because I forget things. My memory and my awareness and my alertness since Jameson passed is a lot worse. So for me, I need the routine just to make sure that I can be effective. And every change that happens just increases that likelihood that I'm going to do something wrong, forget to do something, whatever it is. And I commit myself to what I do. When I decide I'm going to do something in my job, whatever, I try my best to do everything perfectly. And I'm very hard on myself if I can't do it perfectly. And if somebody throws a change in there all of a sudden, I'm trying to figure it out and I can't process that as quickly as I need to a lot of times to meet the deadlines given to me. So I think just another thing for people to be aware of that my brain's not functioning the same way it was before. And I don't know, Chris maybe knows a lot more about. I don't know if that's PTSD or some other compartment, but it's real.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I feel horrible that you are going through that sense for sure. But I really just don't know if it's because since I joined the military at 18, it's just, I'm about to be 38. I'm hitting my 20-year mark this year. It's been like that for 20 years since I joined. Changes all the time. I mean, we're on our we're on our fourth uniform in 20 years. So just an example, like these are not like cheap things to change. And the Air Force is like, yeah, we don't like that. We're going to do this now. Um, so Dan, of course, I'm always here if you need for any help or want to talk about that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just want to get through things and do it right. And that's hard.
Another thing I want to bring up, because Dan, you've been doing awesome, is making that health change. I've talked about my health change and how difficult it was when Mason passed, how I put on about 40 pounds in a quick 5-6 months, because I just had no motivation, wasn't running, wasn't working out, wasn't eating healthy. And it wasn't until January I started the process, and it's been slow, but it's been steady for me. And I wanted to give a huge kudos to you for starting your journey with that. And we've been checking in with each other, and I think you're doing a great job with that to get to that I'm okay with my health.
Yeah, that's another great example of why we need accountability, because I have not. It's nothing even to do with Jameson. I haven't cared about my health for 5 years, I think it's been. And obviously, losing Jameson just took it to a whole nother level. But talking with Chris, I got on it, and I've actually, for the first time in 2 years, I think, the scale this morning, and disclaimer, our scale at our house is awful. We can step on it and weigh one thing and then step right back on it and we're 5 pounds heavier. Our scale is awful, but I bought an exercise bike at the beginning of May, and I've been working on it and eating better and sending Chris my workout updates, and for the first time in 2 years this morning the needle was just below 190. So I've legitimately lost at least a few pounds this month, and it's going okay. And I do feel it does help me feel better. When you're grieving or going through something rough, you get into this cycle of negativity, and things really do drag you down. And thanks to Chris, I've started to hopefully break out of that cycle, and I do feel better just from a little bit of exercise and a little bit of eating better. So thanks, Chris, on that.
No need to thank me. You did all the hard work. I'm proud of you. And for those out there that might have gone through a similar thing, it's never too late to just do a quick walk around the block, maybe drinking a bottle of water, maybe just pay more attention to one meal and be like, all right, you know what? I'm going to have that salad instead of that burger, or something like that. And believe me, I get it. It is hard because my go-to when I'm sad is food. That is why I gained all that weight. So I totally get it when you say, I don't know if I could do that, but you know what? Dan's doing it. I'm doing it. I'm tracking my food on my phone, trying to get at least one run in at 5 days a week. That's my goal. That's what I always try for. And finding that person to keep accountable. I have a person I send my food to, uh, and that makes me track my food because he's going to text me like, "What'd you eat today?" And then I have Dan, where I send my workout, and I also post my workout online for Miles for Mason. And you know what? It does help me keep accountable. So if you're looking to do the same thing, find someone that can keep you accountable and set your reasonable goals. Okay, we're not asking you to run a marathon in a month. We're asking you to run a marathon maybe 2 years from now. Let's start the process though. Let's get the ball moving. So, good job, Dan. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Yeah, and I hope this does help me be more than okay a lot sooner. I'm glad to have at least started to break that cycle of just the negativity or wallowing in self pity, whatever it is, and hopefully in just a couple months it'll be a huge benefit for me overall in proceeding through my process of grieving. So, Chris, I have one last thing I'm curious about just on
Sure.
are you okay? What do you think about when you laugh? Whether it's a joke or whatever it is.
You know, I'm usually pretty. When I have a laugh, I feel good, but then it's always the guilt after the laugh. Like, I think I still have that a little bit of like, like a lot of other grieving people feel like I don't know if I should be laughing because they're not with us anymore, and I think I'm still struggling with that a little bit. Not every time, but a lot of times.
Yeah, and I agree. I wanted that because I thought we were similar on that. That when Jameson's death was brand new, yeah, laughing's hard because it's a horror and a shock when like, oh my god, I'm laughing. I should not be laughing. And just like everything else, it does get easier and easier as I go, but I still when I laugh, I don't have the horror feeling anymore. and I don't have as much guilt, but there's still an awareness or a questioning of myself of, God, is it okay to laugh? And it is okay to laugh. But again, just for people to understand that we could go through a million examples of every little situation we deal with in a day. Hopefully, just the few that we've addressed tonight helps you understand that, again, our okay is a lot different than your okay, because there's almost always something else accompanied with whatever the feeling is that we're displaying at that time.
I totally agree. It's a hard road. This is not going to be easy, and I think everyone listening understands that this is not an easy process. But we're going to do this together, and Dan, I know we're going to keep doing this together. And for those who are listening, we're here to help too. Let us know if we can help you out at all. With that, Dan, anything else? Otherwise, I think probably a good time to call it.
Yep. I just want to encourage everybody again, send your comments, send your questions. Again, if you're interested in being on our show because you're grieving, and I want to throw it out there. I haven't asked Chris about this, but hopefully he'll forgive me. Even if you're not grieving, I think it would be awesome if you just want to come on here and throw questions out to us. I think that would be amazing. If that would help you, I have to imagine it will help other people as well. Anybody that you want to, send us a note. Come on in. You can Facebook message us. You can go to Jameson's Joy or Miles for Mason on Facebook. You can email us personally, or you can email
info@jamesonsjoy.org.
There you go, Chris. And we'll get back to you. We just saw a comment today from another lady that we're helping in a small way. What we're doing here is helping. So, and that's encouraging for us.
100%. It makes me feel good, and I love that idea, Dan, of having some people on and throwing us some questions. I think that could really bring a new perspective to the podcast, and we're going to look into that a lot more for everyone. So keep listening. Send us your comments. Thank you for your time, because I know everyone's time is precious, especially with their families. Enjoy your loved ones. Enjoy every second, and have the best possible time you can during these difficult times.